Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode. Today we are doing a monthly review for June, but I wanted to talk about why these monthly reviews are something that I enjoy and I look forward to doing at the end of the month. So why are these monthly reviews so important to do? To me, this is where I can measure how I did for the month. And I track everything because I look at how I spend my time, my money, and my energy. Now, based on that, the monthly review is where I can see what I can improve on and how, based off of the actions or behaviors that I'm doing throughout the month. So I also want to look at the behaviors that I want to change. Am I following my rules for no spend? Am I buying things spontaneously, or am I making logical decisions? Am I spending my money on things that I need to spend money on, or am I just trying to save money because I know I have to? And I'm also looking at, is the money that I'm spending working for me or against me? Now, the things that I do in my monthly reviews is I audit what I actually spent my money on and was it worth it? Did I end up making the right decisions at the end of the month, or did I end up returning things that I didn't need? Now, what you see in these videos is just my scorecard, how I actually did for the month, what I spent my money on, or if I ended up going over my budget. Even though these monthly reviews only show my expenses, I also pay attention to what I'm doing as well. The behaviors that I'm doing, the activities that I'm doing. Am I eating properly? Am I using up the groceries that I spent my money on, or am I wasting it? Things like that. So moving forward, I can share a little bit more so that maybe it can help you in your journey, because there are a lot of things that we have to juggle as human beings. But the most important thing is focusing on our goals, aligning our actions with the behaviors to achieve them, and then measuring how we did for the week, for the month, and then making adjustments for improvement. Our months and our weeks are not always going to be perfect, but this is how we can gauge if we're on the right track or not, and how we can change and pivot our behaviors so that we can align ourselves with what we want for the future, for our life, for everything, right? Now, the things that I'm focusing on is my health, my diet, the activities, my exercises, my business plan, decluttering any building projects that I may have, and of course, the things that we have to do every single day to maintain those behaviors. So for me, seeing my planner is me coming into terms with how I'm doing, what I've done in the previous month, what I'm doing now, and what I want to do better in the next month. And I'm a very visual person, so seeing my planner keeps me grounded to what I need to do to keep going or to change my behaviors so that I'm not going to steer too far off course if I am. This also allows me to focus on target areas that's hurting me and hopefully making it better the next week or the next month. So I hope you guys had a great June. For me, June has been a pretty hectic month. June has been a roller coaster of a month. It was great, it was bad, it was everything in between. But for the rundown of the month, now I did spend some money on a couple of items on my no spend list, but I still try to make the right decision. I still try to make sure I'm following my no spend rules. I still try to make sure that I spent money on things that made sense to me financially. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as I go over my expense breakdown. So I'm just gonna show you the current status of where my expenses are for the month. We still have week 4 to complete, which we have a couple more days in June. We have like 2 more days. I just decided to just do this video beforehand just so that I can wrap everything up now, and it won't really make a huge difference with what the numbers are for me. But where we currently are at is where my gas is at $113.34. Our groceries is currently at $589.87. I'm probably gonna hit $700, and I feel like this month we have gotten a little bit better with our diet. So for the dogs, I did spend $8.79, and that was just for a bag of freeze-dried liver, which will give me a little bit of a variety when I'm giving treats. And I am still making the DIY treats from the pumpkin puree and the peanut butter with the oat flour, which is really, really easy. But what I will do moving forward to make my time a little bit more efficient, I will just cut them into squares or rectangles or whatever the easiest shape is to kind of cook all the cookies in one go without having to wait for another tray if there's no room in there for like the little biscuits. So that's a great tip that I got from my mom. For health, I did spend $57.08. So this was for 2 things. I did end up buying the app for the year subscription for the Lose It app. It was normally $40 for the year. And this is a tip that I kind of forgot doing because I haven't been in the market to buying subscriptions or anything like that. But if you are going to be buying an app, get the free version of it and wait until a sale comes around before purchasing like a year subscription on retail price, because most of the time it always goes on sale. And I bought this one for $20 and it's normally $40. I was only using this for like a month or so before the sale went on. And then shortly after that, they offered me the lifetime subscription, which is normally $200. They offered it for 68% off, which I'm not going to purchase because I don't really care to have the lifetime subscription of it. It's just more of creating the habits to learn what I need to do, learning what those macros are and kind of focusing on eating things. So those behaviors, it's just learning to tweak what you're doing so that way you're not dependent on something. But it is nice to see that this app is tracking all of these different things, and as time goes I will probably get better at it, so I don't feel like I want to buy the lifetime subscription. But maybe it'll change, who knows. So for now, I'm just doing the 1 year plan. That was $20. The other thing that I did spend was for a pair of weights. Before I joined a class, I would go to the gym consistently and I used a lot of free weights. And that was basically the main part of my workout, was just using the free weights. I don't necessarily use the machines unless I wanted to. So I did want to try to do it again, but it made sense to buy it. But when it ended up coming in, I just realized that I didn't need it. The weights that I ended up buying were too big and they were meant for like a bar. So I ended up just returning it. So I'm not even gonna worry about trying to find like the proper weights because I'm just starting off, and if I get serious I'll make the investment. But right now I do have like a kettlebell that's like 15 pounds, 35 pounds, some 20-pound dumbbells. So I'm gonna work with that and just tweak the exercises to match what I already have available and not having to buy something outside of what I already have. So luckily I do buy things on Amazon, which has a really good return policy. So for me, one of the things that I do like about buying things through Amazon or through Costco is that they have a really good return policy. And you know, if you buy things through like an online website and it's just specifically through that website, if they don't have a good return policy, you're kind of screwed when it comes to something that if you are buying something online and you didn't end up liking it, it's a lot harder to return something through them unless they have a really good return policy. If I am gonna buy something online, I tend to gravitate towards companies that have a better return policy than others. So that's something that you might want to consider when buying something that you might not know if you're gonna like or not. So for work, I did spend $117.73. This will probably go up in the next couple of days because I did have something that is pending. And that's basically my business, the things that I'm spending or investing in, whether it's a skill, whether it's a class, whether it's inventory, whether it's merchandise to resell and so forth. I will be spending a little bit more effort and money into growing my business, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. For home, I spent $112.66. I did buy a blanket, which ended up going on sale. So I ended up buying another blanket and returning that other one. So that's another example of the return policies with Amazon, right? But I'm not always buying things on Amazon. This month kind of just opened the floodgates a little bit. I also bought some new sheets and pillows and some stuff for my mom. For takeout, it's at $230.08. We ended up going out to eat twice. We did end up spending $18.66 for builds because we are currently working on the studio. So we fixed up the drywall, did the joint compound, and then this is how bad my month was. We did end up spending $4.91. I ended up buying some hot chocolate for my boyfriend because he did end up fixing my mom's car. He did end up replacing the brakes and the rotors, all of those things. So I got him a hot chocolate just to kind of cheer him up because that was a really tough time. So drum brakes are probably the worst, but for car, I spent nothing because it wasn't my car that we needed to fix, it was my mom's. So for snacks, we spent $72.59. I'm probably gonna have to buy another box of ice cream for the week. so that'll probably go up a little bit. So for gifts, I didn't spend anything. My mom's birthday is around the corner, but I ended up buying most of the stuff for her from last month. So for Mother's Day, I bought a couple of things for her and I just kind of gave all of that to her together. And all right, so for the shoes, and this is kind of where I spent a lot of the things that was an impulse buy, because my shoes ended up ripping. I ended up buying 2 pairs of shoes. I tried the Hoka's for retail price, and it ended up costing $200. I tried them, they were great, but I realized that I didn't want them. When I think about it too, that was like 10% of my paycheck. That's not really something that I can afford right now, right? So that wasn't a very smart financial decision for me to make. So I ended up just returning that right away. And then I also bought another pair that was half off. It was originally $170 and I ended up getting it for like $90 or under. And it wasn't even perfect either. So I ended up returning that after like maybe a week or two because I ended up finding a better deal. So that's another thing that you can consider, is taking advantage of that remorse period and really seeing for that, 30 days if that's really something that you want to keep. I ended up finding 2 pairs of shoes for $90 on OfferUp, which was great. That it's basically like the pair of shoes that I already had, and I ended up getting 2 pairs instead of 1. And they're 2 of the same exact pair, and they were brand new in the box. So that was kind of like hard to miss. I needed a new pair of shoes and I jumped on this deal because it was a good investment. So that's what I ended up settling on, returning the other stuff, and I'm really happy with that decision. So the returns, I ended up returning $380, and my boyfriend did pay $172.24, which were the times that we ended up eating out with the family. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. The funds that I have is currently at $755.52. And I've mentioned how I break down my paychecks in my previous video, but it's basically broken down into 3 different deposits, which is my checking account, which is $250 to basically have as a minimum deposit so that my card doesn't get charged. And then $250 to my SoFi account, which has a high yield savings account of 4.6%, and another savings account, which has a higher interest of about 6 point something. It varies between 6.1 to like 6.5. So most of my money will end up going to that savings account. And once I calculate everything, I usually will just withdraw the amount that I need to put towards my card to pay for the rest of the expenses for the month. And the reason I do that is because I do take advantage of the APY for that 6 point something percent, and that all adds up. So that's just what I do with my money, and it allows me to take advantage of all of the interest that I can get while it's being deposited. So what I did mention before, there are a couple of things that I am focusing on in my monthly reviews, which is not just the expenses that I'm spending my money on, but also the different goals that I have in mind or in place when I'm thinking about the monthly review and what I did for the month. My health and my diet has been a huge focus for me, so the tracker has definitely been helping. Another focus that I have is the activities that I do, the exercises that I'm trying to do. There were a couple months before where I probably only worked out like 4 times in the month, whereas other months have been better. So I'm just trying to focus on getting those activities and really paying attention to how much I've done. For this month, we did go on 1 hike, which was 5 miles with my family when they came to visit. We had 3 longboarding sessions, which were about 5+ miles, while my boyfriend runs. Since my knees have not been the best, this is how I'm able to keep up with him. And my time on board has definitely been getting better. It's getting to the point where I have the mechanical advantage over him when he is running. That kind of helps him follow my pace, which is also making him run a little bit faster also, which is kind of cool. We're averaging at about an hour to 50 minutes now. His pace is getting a lot faster because I'm getting better at longboarding also. So that's really beneficial for both of us. I also did start working out. I only did 2 workout sessions, which is not the best, but I feel like my behaviors are getting a little bit better with the routines that we're going to set in place. We also did a bike ride spontaneously. We ended up going on a 12.5-mile bike ride, which was really cool. He was longboarding while I was biking. So you can kind of see there's a big gap between the activities that we can do. But this is how we're able to adapt to what I can do and what he can do to kind of meet each other halfway. In order for me to keep up the pace with him, when he runs, I can longboard. And then when he longboards, I can bike. There's still a handicap when it comes to how I can keep up with him, but we do a lot of things together, which is something that I enjoy and he does as well. So it's kind of nice to be able to meet on a level where we both can enjoy something together, but still be able to challenge ourselves with what we're doing. But it's been really fun. And we also did 2 runs, but overall we had a total of 9 outdoor activities, which is pretty exciting. I am documenting that a little bit more on my social media, so I do put that on my Instagram. It's been exciting to just kind of get out. The weather is getting better. It's not completely summer in Washington, but the warmer weather is coming around once in a while, even though it rains ever so often. But I would eventually like to get back to 3 days out of the week doing something. So another update, we have had more decluttering days. My mom has been doing her portion of all of it, and I have started selling more stuff on OfferUp, and it has been lighting a little bit more of a fire to try to get rid of stuff, whether it's preparing for the move back to my mom's house, whether it's just financial reasons, right? Just kind of downsizing everything, liquidating assets that we don't need. It's still a work in progress, but we're making some traction on that. And the last update, which is for the business plan, which I'm going to start putting more of my attention towards. There's a lot of opportunities, but I'm really focusing on my weaknesses and then double downing on my strengths. So I'm trying to kind of get a better game plan as the time goes to see what I can improve and what else I can do to kind of scale this business. I do sell stuff on Etsy. I sell paper goods, I sell ephemera, stationery sets, all of those things, art journaling supplies and stuff like that. And it's a small niche of people. I'm not gonna lie. It's a very, very small niche. So I have to do a lot of brainstorming as to how, if this is actually gonna work, if it's gonna be something that I can do or not. So, and that's what I'm gonna have to come to terms with as well. So I have to figure out how I'm gonna be able to do this, if I can do this, and if I can, how can I do this? So that will be something to look forward to. But let's talk about the future funds so we can wrap this whole video up and get this started. Now we have 3 things that we are saving for, which is our 100 envelope challenge, the year fund that I'm also focusing on, and the emergency fund, which I need to save a lot of money for. So the first paycheck for June, I ended up taking $51 and $67. And then we did the $65 for the year fund, and the rest of it went to the emergency fund, which was $10.17. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pick from our 100 envelope challenge box. This is my setup. Yes, it is definitely different if you haven't seen this already, but I've explained this in my previous videos, but let's go ahead and pull our card for this month. And you can see here that these are the cards that I've pulled, the 67 and the 51. And hopefully you guys are also making progress in your 100 envelope challenge. So this is really fun. I honestly enjoy these challenges and saving money this way compared to how I was doing it before. So let's go ahead and 46. So I think that's a pretty good number. I'm kind of scared to pick another one because I feel like if it's a big one, I'm not going to be saving enough money into the emergency fund. But maybe we'll get lucky. So let's pick another one. 88. See what I mean? I'm real lucky this month. All right, so we will go ahead and do $44. Oops. $46.88 into our 100 envelope challenge. So let's go ahead and color that in. So 46. And I will record myself putting the money in because I'm currently recording with my phone right now. So for June, this is the second one, $46.88. And then June, number 2. Cool. So let's go back to June really quick and let's just mark down. So we are at 134 for the 100 envelope challenge, and we have 250 So minus the 134, we are at 116. We are gonna do the usual $65 for the year fund for 2025. So let's go ahead and plug that in. And then the rest of it is gonna go towards the emergency fund, which is $51. So another thing that I wanted to update you guys on was that I was doing the tracking on this savings tracker. So this was how it looked like, and there was a lot of issues with this, whether people get paid weekly. There's months where you get 2 paydays, there's months where you get 3 paydays. People get paid every week, people get paid so many different ways. So I wasn't sure how I wanted to present this as a savings tracker. And I did like how this tracker here was set up, but this was getting too chaotic as time went. And I liked how this layout was for the savings tracker for the year. So what I ended up just doing was using this layout with this layout and then just creating it from what it was to how it is now. So here we have the year fund, the 100 envelope, and the emergency fund. And we have from the first paycheck, we have the balance, then we added what we've added so far, which is the 65, and then the 2 pulls that I've done, which is at 118, and then the rest, which is at 1017. So we're at this amount now, which we're gonna go ahead and add everything that we've done today, which we just added 65, and then we added 134, I think. Let me just double check. I think it is, yeah, 134. And then for the emergency fund, the rest of it was $51. So we can go ahead and calculate all of that stuff now, which we're at 195 now. And then we are at 479.59. And then for our emergency fund, we are at $5,425. Cool. So this is going to be the new layout moving forward, and I've even printed out the next couple of pages just so that this is probably going to be what it's going to look like moving forward. And that is basically it. I think I'll change a couple more things just because how like the expense tracker has been getting a little bit more chaotic as well. I think I do have to change up the charts and make them bigger just because there are so many different categories that we are keeping track of. So this is not going to be the final draft of the expense tracker, but it's all good. Everything is changing for a reason, and it'll eventually become what it's meant to be. But that's basically it for me today. I hope you guys had a great month, and hopefully things are looking up, whether it's something that you're working on, whether it's pivoting into some new direction that you need to focus on to align yourself with your goals. We got to make these adjustments. We have to be fluid. We got to be like water, right? We just got to pivot to what we need to do, make those changes, and don't be rigid, because that's when you know that you're not gonna get stuff done if you're thinking that it's gonna be your way, which it never is. But hopefully I make some progress, and I hope you do too. But other than that, I will talk to you guys on the next one. Take care.